Australia vs. Canada Economic Comparison. Welcome to today's video. We're diving into a fascinating comparison between two major players on the global stage, Australia and Canada. These nations may be worlds apart geographically, but they share a surprising amount of history and economic dynamics. Shared colonial heritage and geographic challenges. Australia and Canada, despite being on opposite sides of the globe, share common threads in their historical and cultural fabric. Both were former British colonies and are part of the Commonwealth of Nations, leading to political systems that mirror British traditions. Each country operates as a federal state with a constitutional monarchy, maintaining a parliamentary system. However, geography presents unique challenges. In Australia, most of the population is concentrated along the coastal areas, leaving vast, sparsely populated desert interiors. Canada faces a similar issue, with the bulk of its population residing within 100 miles of the U.S. border. Both countries must manage large territories where the majority of the land remains underpopulated, creating logistical and infrastructural challenges in balancing urbanization with the needs of remote areas. Economic powerhouses, ranking on the global stage. Australia and Canada are often viewed as middle economic powers with similar GDP per capita and standards of living. If their economies were combined, the two nations would form the world's fifth largest economy, surpassing India and coming close to Japan. Both have GDP per capita rates comparable to high-income countries, with Australia at approximately $63,000 and Canada around $58,000, PPP adjusted. This places them among the wealthiest nations in terms of individual income, with solid economic foundations largely driven by natural resources. Resource-driven economies. Australia versus Canada. Australia and Canada are both deeply reliant on their abundant natural resources, though their economic structures have evolved slightly differently. In Australia, mining plays an outsized role in the economy, with coal, iron ore, and liquefied natural gas, LNG, forming the backbone of its export market. Australia is particularly dependent on China's demand for its resources, which has driven booms, particularly in mining towns like those in Queensland. At the peak of Australia's mining boom, this sector contributed around 9% of the country's GDP. Canada, while also resource-rich, maintains a more diversified economy, though it still heavily relies on exports of oil, natural gas, minerals, and timber. The discovery of oil sands in Alberta in the 1950s led to an energy boom that still drives much of Canada's Western economy today. In terms of energy, Canada is the world's fourth largest oil producer and one of the largest exporters of natural gas, primarily to the U.S. The role of natural resource exports in global markets. On the global commodity stage, both Australia and Canada are significant players, but in slightly different niches. Australia leads in coal, iron ore, and critical minerals such as lithium and rare earth elements, which are becoming increasingly valuable in the era of renewable energy. Australia is also the largest producer of lithium, a vital component for electric vehicle batteries. The country aims to be a global leader in processed critical minerals by 2030. Canada, in contrast, has vast oil reserves, especially in Alberta's tar sands, making it one of the world's largest energy exporters. In addition to oil, Canada exports significant quantities of timber and minerals. However, both countries face the risk of becoming overly reliant on these resources. Canada's economy, for example, is heavily linked to the U.S., its largest trading partner, while Australia's dependence on China for its mineral exports leaves it vulnerable to fluctuations in global demand. Industry concentration. A parallel in market control. Both countries exhibit high levels of industry concentration, especially in sectors like retail and banking. In Australia, Coles and Woolworths dominate the grocery market, with a combined 59% market share. In Canada, Loblaws and Sobeys control roughly 34% of the grocery sector. The banking sector in both nations is similarly concentrated. The four largest banks in Canada, Royal Bank of Canada, Toronto-Dominion Bank, Scotiabank, and Bank of Montreal, control over 75% of the market. Australia's banking sector mirrors this, with its big four banks, Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, ANZ, and National Australia Bank, also holding a similar level of market dominance. This industry concentration isn't limited to banking and retail. Telecommunications, energy, and aviation are also dominated by a handful of large players in both countries. The small size of their domestic markets forces companies to scale up and maintain dominance within their respective sectors. However, this lack of competition can sometimes stifle innovation, particularly in technology-driven industries. Innovation and the struggle to compete globally. Despite being wealthy, developed nations, Australia and Canada lag in fostering innovation and high-tech sectors. Both have low patent filing rates, with Australia granting 6.7 per 10,000 people and Canada 5.9, far behind the US, 9.9, and South Korea, 28.2. This gap partly stems from underinvestment in R&D. Canada allocates 1.7% of its GDP and Australia 1.8%, both below the OECD average of 2.7%. The venture capital landscape mirrors this, with both countries raising only $8 billion in 2023, a 50% drop from the previous year, limiting the growth of tech startups and innovation. High-tech manufacturing and diversification challenges. A key economic difference between Australia and Canada lies in their diversification efforts beyond natural resources. Canada has a more established manufacturing base, particularly in automotive, aerospace, and machinery. Yet, high-tech exports make up only 4% of its total, below OECD averages. Australia fares worse, with less than 2% of its exports coming from high-tech sectors, ranking low among developed nations. This limited diversification leaves both countries vulnerable to a resource curse, where reliance on commodity exports hinders broader growth in industries like high-tech manufacturing and pharmaceuticals, risking further lag in global innovation. Immigration is a key driver of growth. While both Australia and Canada struggle with innovation, they are leaders in attracting immigrants. Immigration plays a crucial role in their economic growth, providing a steady supply of skilled labor. In fact, Canada is one of the world's top countries for immigration, accepting over 400,000 newcomers annually. Australia maintains a similarly high rate of immigration, with targets of around 160,000 per year. These immigrants fill essential roles in industries like healthcare, technology, and engineering, helping to drive economic activity. Additionally, immigrant communities fuel consumer demand, stimulate housing markets, and provide fresh perspectives in entrepreneurship. Average salary, life expectancy, and average house price. When it comes to income, Australia boasts an average salary of around $80,000 odd, reflecting the country's high standard of living and strong economy. On the other hand, Canada offers an average salary of approximately $60,000 CAD, which, while slightly lower, still places it among the wealthier nations globally. In terms of health and longevity, Australia has an impressive life expectancy of about 83 years, slightly surpassing Canada, where the life expectancy is around 82 years. Both nations rank high in global health metrics, thanks to advanced healthcare systems and high living standards. Housing affordability remains a challenge in major cities. In Sydney, Australia, the average house price exceeds $1 million odd, while in Toronto, Canada, it's about $1.2 million CAD. These soaring property prices highlight the growing demand in urban areas driven by immigration and economic growth. Economic dependency, a shared future. In conclusion, Australia and Canada share remarkable economic similarities, from their colonial histories to their reliance on natural resources. Both nations enjoy high standards of living, but their economies remain highly dependent on commodity exports, making them vulnerable to fluctuations in global markets. Canada has made strides in diversifying its economy through manufacturing and technology, but both countries continue to lag behind in innovation. And there you have it. While Australia and Canada share many similarities, their economic paths diverge in crucial areas such as industry diversification, trade dependencies, and innovation. Let us know in the comments, what do you think the future holds for these two economic powerhouses? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth comparisons.